Massive welcome to Talking Hawks tonight. It's Mitch and Matty here joining you, fans. We're looking forward to this chat. You've got to talk about what has happened. You've got to talk about what's to come, and we want to get your insights tonight. So, Mitch, it's we've got a good little mix of things tonight, which I'll run over shortly. But how's things on your end?
Very good, mate. Good to be here for season 2023, mate. We've got some big shoes to fill because the rest of the Talking Hawks team have been in the chair already with some podcasts and some streams last week. So we've got some big shoes to fill. But happy to be here tonight. Unpack what was an unfortunate result on Sunday in round one with some of the fans, and we'll touch on Box Hill. We'll get into the Sydney game, and good to be here.
100%. Yeah, no, it's great to be back. And this is the only place where I feel like there's just that sense of being in the room together with the fans and being able to talk to it. We do the podcast, so check them out if you haven't. But so that'll be a regular, permanent fixture. A couple of pods a week, articles coming. So, but thank you for joining us. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We've got some familiar faces and names rolling in the comments already. So, Talking Hawks, we're all about connecting Hawks fans from around the world. If you haven't joined us before, that's what we are all about. The podcast, subscribe there on your favourite platforms. Drop us a 5-star rating. Thank you. That's the one.
Rating, that's the one.
Review. Timmy's got Connor McDonald coming on tomorrow. So, Look forward to that one. He's quite the little Energizer bunny. So I think you'll enjoy that chat. If you've got any thoughts or questions to put to Connor, drop them in tonight. We might even be able to sneak one or two across to Tim for that. So, look, follow us on all your favourite social platforms, YouTube, trying to hit 1,500. So thanks for joining us here if you are with us tonight. But get on, subscribe, and we're in for a big night. So let me unpack this a little bit. We've got two new things, and you are the master of all things creative at Talking Hawks. We've got a Talking Hawks MVP.
Yes.
And fans, we want to bring you into the frame, Hawkeye. We want you to cover that off with us tonight. What are you seeing in the game that's just been, and what are you going to be looking forward to in the game to come? Because we want to nominate those that have got a true Hawkeye and recognise it. So
yeah. Absolutely. Chuck them in the comments, guys. We'll be looking out for those during the show. Anything that we see, we will chuck up as a Hawkeye. With the fan MVP, we've got two little different things to that. So we're going to be doing weekly fan MVP. So that's where we want to hear from you guys to see who you thought was the best on ground or the MVP for the previous game. So if you jump on our Twitter or Facebook, you'll see a graphic up there. Which I've highlighted 4 players that I think were deserving of the nod for best on ground. We just want you to simply comment on the post. Tell us who you thought it was. If you agree with me, good. If you disagree, let me know. At the end of the week, I will go through, check who's polled the most votes out of those 4, and I'll display that graphic at the end of the week. And then vice versa, we will provide you during the streams. We will provide you with our best on for the Talking Hawks team, the 8 of us that are involved in Talking Hawks. We'll show you our best on for the round. So get involved in that, get into socials. It'll be a weekly thing for us.
Awesome. So Hawkeye tonight, as Mitch said, any game observations, what you as a fan want to see in the next, doesn't have to be just next week, in the next few games. So, but we're going to go through your favourite player, my favourite player from the weekend just gone, or your moment. The injuries, the Talking Hawks, what we're doing with sponsoring plays this year, Box Hill results. So hang about as a bit involved tonight. So just in the comments, Daz, geez, he's media personality. We can't always get Daz. People ask him, but
he's a highly sought after man, Daz. He's not always available. So.
Fred, I know you have a sense of humour, and we've got a few around the place joining us tonight. So let's jump right in, mate. So I guess to the fans, we want straight up, what did you see? What did you like? There's going to be a lot of disappointing things that we saw. the club's owning that. They're talking about that over the next couple of next couple of weeks. It's not necessarily the brand of footy that we can expect, nor the talent that we have. Wasn't representative, but here we go. I'm just going to start rattling some off here. Shout them out, Mitch, as you see the need.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ramsden had a good practice match against the Bombers on the weekend. I think he's definitely in line. If they're looking to replace someone potentially down forward, maybe Cozzy, depending on what they think they want to do there. Obviously, I'll start with the positives, mate. It was a solid start to the game. We thought, oh, here we go. We had probably one goal of the year contender, and then one that was, I think, maybe not quite equally as good, but very impressive as well with CJ not long after. Carl Amon kicked a really good goal in that sort of similar stretch, and I jumped off the couch, actually, and here we go. This is more like it. We were winning the ball out of the middle, actually winning the clearances, and then, about halfway through that second quarter, it was, oh, my God, what's going to happen here? And then that third quarter, I think it was 8-0 in that third quarter, and similar to last year when we played Essendon, aside for obviously last year, it was I think it was a 9-goal last quarter to them. We just couldn't stop it, and just I think biggest takeaway for me was it was just disappointing to see the lack of two-way running. There was a lot of people just ball watching, running through. The Bombers were able to rebound quickly out of their defensive 50, our forward 50. However, they also at times were quite slow and just literally able to just play kick to kick, chip it around, take uncontested mark, and all of a sudden it was back in their forward line. And when you're moving it that easily from your opponent's forward 50, you're going to hit the scoreboard regardless of how efficient you are inside 50. So I think a bit of more defensive structure and just trying to lock it in. I think I sort of more pressure on the ball carrier. Exactly, Ross. Just try and lock it in and don't move it so easily, because there were so many times when, Smithy calls it the Hawks Highway. When we're going, it's good. But when it comes back the other way, it just all of a sudden, oh, my God. And all of a sudden it was in their forward 50 and we didn't even look like scoring. So a bit of two-way running, and hopefully we'll solve some of the issues, but it wasn't a pretty watch.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. You've given us a good little snapshot there. Russell, one of our regulars, one of our favourites. He's dug into the history almanac there. Yeah, well done. That's a Hawkeye moment right there. You've nailed the first one, Russell. And where did I say, Brooke? I like this. It's not quite Hawkeye worthy, but your moment. So Sicily and your best on ground. So yeah, it was good to see Sis. I was at the game. I didn't think Sicily. I think certain things. I think they were trying to adjust for some of the unexpected things that were happening with the personnel and the structures breaking down and obviously coming in fast at times. He was in the right spot at the right time, to his credit, and sometimes he'd slip or different things. And I think he probably looked better on TV than what you would see at the game at times, just on a few possessions. But to see the captain, he won the toss. That's the first win, and then
he didn't look. It was funny. He didn't look too certain about which end he was going to kick to when he won the toss. I had a little bit of a chuckle about that.
And Brooks also come back with this one, Dimmer, absolutely well. That was special. Look, fans, do you think we need to see more of that? Because that's an option. When Timmy spoke to Dimmer on the podcast. Again, check out some of the player interviews we've been able to do this offseason. He was hopeful of a bit more opportunities this year. So when Sam talked about mixing it up, I love that came up. Yeah,
well, I think he was as a young fella, when we picked him up, he was like leading goal scorer in TSA Cup or something. So he's got that ability. Yeah, he's got that ability to obviously go forward and hit the scoreboard. He's just such a good defender that we probably haven't really considered it. It obviously looks like it has been talked about because he was shuffled forward and looked like the best genuine target up forward. Obviously kicked 2 goals himself and had a good game. But I think his best role is still that lockdown defender. He does obviously play on a lot of the time the best sort of small forward of the opposition. We do have a lot of a backman in stock though, so if we can get someone to potentially replace him, we want to swing him forward. It's definitely an option. I agree, Brad. Sis did stop the bleeding, and when it's going back there as much as it was, especially in that second half of the game or between sort of the second and third quarter, it's always going to be hard to stop the flow, but considering there was going to have to be someone back there to try and ebb the flow a little bit, and Sicily was definitely one of them. Probably the standout, really.
Yeah. And this was exciting. Thanks, Dan HFC. We've got a lot to look forward to, and Rod's with you there. I think interesting, just our little stats watching, seeing Newcomb, Warple, Mackenzie attending the most centre clearance, centre ball ups, centre bounce. It's 10 attendances between those three with both ruckmen, but interestingly, they lost the 3 when they were with Meek. And, you can talk about the ruck matchups here, but I like that Reeves, they won 4 of the 7 attendances that they had together. So that tap ruck work that we want from Reba, keep it coming, Noodle. That's, perhaps a sign of things to come. We'll keep coming in with those little gems. But to you, I like it. Any notables, Mitch, of the Hawkeye from
been keeping on. I'll sing it. There's been a few good comments, but I'll sing out when I say something worthy of the first Hawkeye that we're going to give for season 2023. I mean, actually, sorry, I did want to touch on. I can't believe we're 10 minutes in and we haven't touched on Cam Mackenzie. Debut, obviously, and geez, didn't he play magnificently in that midfield setup? Probably looks like our best kick already. We knew in the draft profile that he was very good with the ball, and he showed that in round 1. We'll obviously need, to gel a little bit more in that middle, but it's a very young core now. We're going to be able to switch players in and out of the midfield core to see what combination is going to work the best, and it's going to probably at times be a hard and long process, but I'm sure we'll get there. There's a lot of talent in there, so we'll just have to wait and see. But I was really, really impressed with Mackenzie, and he was one of the 4 that I put forward for best on ground.
Yep, absolutely. Loved it. Loved the look of him, and absolutely got to celebrate that one. WA Prima, Fergus and Carl giving us, their first goals at the club, which was lovely, and we needed it. And at that point, I'm sure, like all of you, we were up and about. The chest puffed out a little bit, and
Absolutely. Brooks brought a third positive with the return of the Warpedo, which was very good to see. He was also, we've all touched on now, all 4 players that I put forward with the fan MVP. So Mackenzie, Hardwick, Sicily, and Warple. Warple was very good. We've often been quite vocal, Maddie, on Talking Hawks about Warple's contribution to the Hawks midfield, especially last year, and that he probably wasn't up to his best. That saw him win a best and fairest a few years ago. He certainly has looked good in the practice matches, and you follow that up with a solid round 1, and was probably was the best midfielder for us. So it was good to see him return to form.
Yeah, 100%. Andrew, mate, just quick on the trigger there. That's I'm going to trust you. You're a reliable sort. So there you go, 65 goals, maybe a few more in the brown and gold to come. So look, it's interesting. Yeah, we've got a lot of things that potentially could happen. I'm not anticipating a lot of, swinging of the axe, but I think everybody's going to be feeling the pressure. So
after round 1, you don't want to see too many like just straight away. You lose by 10 goals in the middle of the season, you probably swing the axe a bit more. But round 1, there might be a few that need to come out. But I think you've got to give them a couple of weeks, get settled, get the team. It's a young team. You want a team that's out there that can get used to playing with each other and sort of working out where the magnets go. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a longer season at times, just in terms of results, but short-term pain, long-term gain.
All right. And so have a quick think if you haven't got one lined up right now, Mitch, but my favourite player moment from the Bombers game was actually post-game. And it was Sicily talking about the way they played after the first part wasn't necessarily the way they trained. And I can swallow that because if this is some youngsters finding their way and working it out, good. There'll be some great lessons there. So weird. My moment may not always be in the game, but that for me was the standout. Just gave me that extra little bit more glimmer of hope. And I'm glass half full, but that for me was important to hear. It just, the calm returned.
Absolutely.
Yours, mate?
I've got to go with Wingard's goal. It's round 1 and it's already going to be, hard to beat for goal of the year. He's really wound back the clock a bit there, hasn't he? The candy sort of too, and just finds space and drills it through. And that was, I think Amon's goal might have been before his, but that started. It was about 3 goals in a row that were rippers with, I believe it was Amon, then Wingard, and then CJ.
Yeah, Green first. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
No, very special. He was the candy man. He was putting the name up. Putting his hand up for that nickname. So look, a week on the sidelines now. So let's jump into the injuries. So, Chad's a week. They've taken the precautions to scan. You've got Mitch Lewis, unfortunately, pushed out a little longer. We've got Tank still on the sidelines for a bit, but the main ones that I'm looking at is Harry Morrison, ready. And who did we see earlier? There's a comment here. Sis wasn't necessarily training with the main group tonight. Sis Scrimshaw. So interesting.
Yeah.
In that I thought he'd almost be one of your first magnets. Interesting.
And he had a good practice match on the weekend as well. Played well. If you're looking to move someone into that back six, I think he's probably the first one that you're looking at. But interesting, he may not be ready this week. Do you see him making any real changes to the side? I know we said we're not going to swing the axe too much. We might get into that when we talk about the Sydney game, because we'll go through some Box Hill players that maybe have earned a call up.
Let's keep the powder dry, because there's a few people that are already starting to go there in the comments. But the other interesting thing, Will Day training with sort of the group that are in sort of the rehab and whatnot tonight. So maybe
light training.
Maybe a bit of recovery. My feel is by about round 5, you get a feel for where all of the teams are at. And so I had a little bit of perspective there, but I think the training load, when I was watching the way they were running on the ground, and it did move around fast at times, I wonder if those young bodies have absolutely been stretched to the limits to try and bulk up and try and really prepare them for the whole season. I think we looked a little bit tired at times, and some teams quite happily do that and are trying to peak by the end of the season for finals. I think for us, come round 5, I think you'll see a lot of the work that they've put into their bodies and the running capacity and whatnot coming out sort of from that point onwards. So time to tell.
Yeah, it's a good point. And like, obviously with the younger guys, we know it does take a couple of pre-seasons to build like a little bit of size, but it doesn't mean they're not going to be, at peak fitness. And I think, we've got a lot of good young talent that we're going to get games into all of them this year. I feel like there will be some changes in and out most weeks, because we're going to be trying to work out what exactly works in each section of the ground, whether it's forward, mid or defense. There'll be a lot of changes, and we do have quite a bit of options there and working out what the best way forward is. So there might be a few changes, but I'm sure all the young boys will relish the chances when they do actually get the call up. Yeah,
beautiful, mate. I'll just give a quick segue. Bring us the Box Hill stuff in a second, but I did have the pleasure of joining the 83 Premiership team on Saturday at a lunch, and there's some characters. So we're very fortunate, with the 5th flag, the 5th Premiership Cup that we were able to loft with Yabby Jeans and Kenny Judge honoured on the day. There's some great stories, many laughs. They really taking the pee out of each other, and so it was quite entertaining. Just no hesitation to throw each other under the bus on certain stories. So maybe we could get John Kanga Kennedy or Peter Knights on. They were a couple of cracking blokes.
Be a good get, mate. Get stuck into that, mate. I've just seen one from Beach Ball. Apologies, I have forgotten about Joshy Ward, and he was actually nearly in that top 4 that we submitted for fan MVP. He was the 5th. He was up the stiff play to miss out. He was fantastic. So we'll give a shout out to him. Thank you for bringing him to our attention, because he was very good in what was a side that there wasn't too many positives. I know we haven't even really talked about the negatives. We're all positives, which is good. But Ward played a phenomenal game.
Yeah, mate. So whilst you're going through a bit of a walk, Zane Littlejohn's done quite well with the boys and the listed players. A nice little write-up. I'll let you sort of give us your thoughts on the Box Hill game that was, and I might just, while you're doing that, flash up some of the fans that have joined us, their thoughts on who might be the ins or outs for this coming round. So ignore the flash up, right?
Yeah, so we've got Scrimmer, we already talked about. He had 24 disposals and 5 intercepts, was very solid in defence. As we mentioned, mate, I reckon he's probably going to be one of the first in line to join the best 2023 now, because we got the sub. Cooper Stevens was really good, 24 disposals, 4 inside 50s and 5 tackles. Good around the clearance as well, so I'm sure he's not far away from getting a gig in the Hawks midfield. Henry Huswaite was good as well. He had 21 disposals to go with 7 clearances and 7 tackles. So it was good to see the 2 youngsters getting in amongst it in the middle. Josh Weddle, also good. He's been playing on a wing and half-back. So he's another option that we could potentially swing into that back 6. He had 23 disposals and 5 tackles. Our man Denver, Matty, definitely a step in the right direction. We know probably in the practice matches probably struggled a little bit. However, took a step in the right direction. He was our key defender. Stats-wise, probably doesn't read the best, 11 disposals and 5 intercepts, but Zane Littlejohn's comments was that there was definitely a step in the right direction for him. So I can't imagine he's too far away from pushing for a spot back in that senior side. We touched a little bit on Ramsden earlier on. Is he a potential substitute for maybe a key forward if he's going to kick 4 goals and have 13 disposals to go with 8 hitouts and 3 inside 50s? I think he's not far away from getting a call out. He's playing mainly as a forward at the minute with Lynch doing most of the ruck work down at Box Hill. He had 26 hitouts, 16 disposals, 3 inside 50s and 1 goal. And then we've got Sammy Butler, who is again on that fringe of potentially pushing to get back in the side. We know Wingard is not going to play this week. Does Butler come in? He kicked 2 goals, Sammy Butler, 17 disposals, 4 tackles. But the other one that will potentially be vying for that Wingard spot will be Tyler Brockman. Now, I have seen a lot of Brocky comments during the week. A lot of fans. I'm in a whole heap of different Hawks groups, and Brockman seems to be a bit of a favourite to get into the side. So he had 5 disposals and 1 goal, but the biggest takeaway from that was that he didn't have much of the ball, but he was very good without it. So always good to see that, even though, stats-wise, it might not look like he's had the best game, but the coaches and the staff and anyone that saw the game were actually quite high on his performance.
Yeah, and it's it's the Cyril 12 touches, 14 touches that can swing a game, and the pressure acts and all of that does not go on the stats sheet and whatnot. So I haven't seen the footage of the game, just a couple of highlights here and there. So yeah, interested to see. Competition is great though at the end of the day. So I'd love to see Butt's debut. I think Sam and I think they want to give them a shot for a few games though. So do they just need to stitch together 2 or 3 weeks in a row at the level, doing well at Box Hill? That's probably what sits in the back of my mind. But clearly, with Wingard going out, there's room for one straight up. So there's some good suggestions that we whipped through while you were doing that. So
yeah, and I think it's good for consistency for both sides, for not just the senior side, the AFL side, but the Box Hill side as well. If you've got rough patches of consistency where the team is relatively similar, it does allow you to work out what's going to work. If there's people deserving for Box Hill to come up and play senior footy, then absolutely get them in the side. But you don't want to move the magnets around too much, and you got no idea with what combination is going to work. So interesting poor work rate. Yeah, Andrew, we from what I read, they had quite a bit to say about him even without the ball. So interesting. Obviously, 5 disposals definitely doesn't read well, but it wasn't the only the place I saw it. There was quite a few players that I know that went to the game. They all said the same thing, that his stats don't really paint an accurate reflection of how he played. But interesting to see. He's probably a couple of weeks away, maybe, but we'll see how he goes.
Yeah. Look, we'll change gears. It's good. Hopefully, we're seeing more. It's good just to see him on the park, to be honest, for mine. Yep. And I think he's got a lot of upside. So, one other piece of news coming from the club today. So the Hawks AFLW, their supplementary draft picks have been confirmed. So for season 8, we have picks 4, 22 and 33. We do sponsor Jazz Fleming. And I'm going to use this as a little segue. So, actually, I forgot now MVP. We'll say that to the end. So we've got... sorry, just trying to squeeze a little bit in.
I forgot as well. Daz told me to get that up first thing. We'll do it at the end.
For sure. But if you haven't seen it, I'll just try to... Mitch, let me know if that works. Yeah, it does work. I can see it.
Yeah, mate, that's working. Yeah.
The player sponsor happening for 2023. We do have Jazz in the mix. If you haven't seen it, check it out on talkinghawks.com. Jai gives us a personal message. It's some of the other people that have been part of the sponsorship group last year, what their experiences were. So being able to go to the MCG and hang out with some of the players, and there's some really cool things. And we do want to be able to move from being just an online community and connecting Hawks fans. We actually do want to be able to share on in-person experiences. So there's a whole lot of details. If you click in, let me just double check one more thing. If you check out the website, you'll see we've already got a few very generous souls jumping on board to get behind the club. The money goes into the club. Some of the things on offer, tickets to various Hawthorn events, birthday messages, hang out with us. If you want to do that, you might pay to not do that. Peter Crimmon's medal and the like. So just check it all out. You get a receipt. Thank you, Russell, Liam, Brooke, for already jumping on board. And it's been a really cool initiative that we've been able to, and Jai talks to that in the message, that he feels that he's got to know some of us. We've done some behind the scenes interviews with Demba and Jai, and it's sort of a closed group, and we've had a Zoom call. Very, very cool. Everyone being able to have a chat to some of these young up and comers for us. So cool, mate. Maybe it's time for the MVP.
Yeah, because we'll probably get into the Sydney game for the last sort of 5 or so minutes of the show. We'll get the fans to see if they do want any changes, who's coming in. So our fan MVP this week, if you want to bring it up, Matty, we're actually, there's 8 of us in the Talking Hawks team, and round 1 we've actually tied. So we were going to work out a system in terms of trying to split the ties, but we just thought, let's just go with 4 votes each. So that just works with, we all just give 1 vote to the best player. That was Warple and Sis. I'll keep a running. Yeah, I'll keep a running tally of that throughout the year for our MVP and the fan MVP as well. So we'll see what that looks like at the end of the season. But that was, the Talking Hawks staff, I guess you'd say. Chris, was Amon disappointing? I don't know if disappointing is the right word. I don't know if he was. I don't think I was wrapped with his game, but I thought he looked good in patches, and he certainly wasn't the worst player on the ground. So I'm happy to just sort of give him a pass for this week, and we'll see what he offers. But we have probably talked a little bit too much about the Essendon game, so we'll get stuck into the Swans game.
Just before you do, check out for Jake Smith. Smitty got the first gig to put his hand up to write the player reviews, and geez, that was a rough one. So, if you want to see whether it's the path mark in the eyes of Smitty, and I think he has some great footy perspective in how he sees the game and what he writes. So he tried to be very honest, and I reckon he probably lost a bit of sleep putting that all together. So on the Talking Hawks website, check it out.
It was a bit of a nightmare as well for potentially Daz, who edited it. I think there might have been a few things come out of it in terms of keeping it relatively friendly, but he did a great job first up, Smithy, and then the boys followed in suit with the 6 things to take away from the game in Daz and Timmy. They did a good job. So if you haven't seen that, check that out, and we will have one dropping, I think, tomorrow for the preview for the Sydney game. So hence why we haven't really talked too much about that, guys, in terms of the side. We've sort of hinted it to a little bit, but this is where we want to hear from you. What do you want to see from the Swans game? I did already see a comment earlier that I wanted to highlight, and I'm going to try and find. Chris California this week needs to be about contesting for the ball and putting bodies on the line, win or lose. You might have to scroll back there a bit, Matty, if you want to see it come up. Chris, you're spot on, mate. Just want to see a little bit of hunger around the ball. We only laid like 46 tackles, I think, in a game where they've got a lot of the ball. That's not many. Yeah, we won the tackle count, but we probably shouldn't when you lose a game by 10 goals. So I just want to see us attacking the ball a bit harder. We already spoke about running two ways, and it just looked a bit lazy at times. It was far too easy to move the ball, and hence why it was such ugly viewing. So do we want to see too many changes? I know we've already had that. So at 43, thanks, Andrew. You're all over it tonight, mate. Beach, unsociable Hawks. Absolutely, mate. That's when we're playing our best footy, is when we're unsociable and make them earn it. You know, if we don't win too many games, all good. But if you see the effort there and we're playing from siren to siren and showing a bit of composure, a bit of fight and pressure, kind of just put the words right in my mouth for me. I think, you know, that's all we can offer for such a young side. But showing patches of that game against Essendon is not the footy we want to play. And it's definitely not up to the standard that the boys will expect from themselves.
Yeah. Look, it's going to make them have a good look in the mirror. It's one of the highest pressure, I think it was, from last round teams in Sydney against, on the stats sheet, the lowest. So call it as it is. But Swans versus Hawks at the SCG 110 on Sundays. No free-to-air, KO, Foxtel Radio, and clearly the Talking Hawks socials will be ticking away. So, mate, it will be a thing to watch. I think we've had our first.
Have we got a Hawkeye, Matty? We've said we're going to do a Hawkeye. I don't think we've pointed one out yet, have we?
I did one right back at the top. We will get a nice graphic so you feel special. But
I'll mention. I'll put the Chris one that I just brought up with the pressure around the ball and sort of the unsociable play. I think that's a very good call. So we'll get a couple of graphics make up. We are hoping that we can get like a little graphic that we can actually just put up on the screen with your comment in, but we're a little bit unsure how to do that at the moment. Hopefully that'll be done in the next few weeks. I will rack my brain in how to do that.
I like this one. Sorry, mate.
You keep going, mate. You're all good. Yeah.
I think that's O'Sullivan. Sounds good. Huswaite. I don't mind that at all. Nashi as a sub. I don't mind making him earn it, but it's just going to be matchups a little bit with Nash. I think at times he might just be on that fringe and on the, what do they call the new sub rule? Not rule. Anyway, the sub, the
substitution.
I didn't quite have that one prepared. So, all right. Well, mate, we might wrap it up. And I know the Swans dissection, that game will happen intensely on the podcast. You can comment there as well if you're tuning into Talking Hawks on your favourite podcasting platform. So, mate, look, Hawkeyes to come. We would love you to join us and be part of the Talking Hawks player sponsorship this year. Get behind a young team, see them continue to rise week to week, year to year, ups and downs. We know it's coming, but we're glad to be here with you, talking it all through together. So what have we got? A couple more.
Yeah, it's Gordon needs to be stopped. Interesting. Tune into the podcast tomorrow, guys. I reckon they might be discussing that. If we do tag someone, is it Gordon? Do you potentially go to someone else? If obviously Finn McGuinness, he's sort of probably, like you said, with Frosty, mate. He's not Frosty, sorry. Who was the sub? Nashi. He's probably on the fringe, whether we tag or not. Who does he go about? We've got Heaney in there. I saw there's been a few comments tonight about Dimmer staying forward. I think he's probably going to pay Patley this week.
I'm going to pay Andrew on that one.
Yep.
I can see the sense of that. You want him fit. You want him firing. I'll dip the lid, mate, to you there. So
Guinness to Warner from Abs. That's a good point because Warner's coming off 30. So do we last thing before? Yeah, Warner's coming off 30 with, I think he's coming off a pretty good game, 3 clearances and 30 disposals, I think. So will be interesting. I'm sure the boys will look at that if there's a tagging role for Finn and tomorrow. So tune in there, guys. Tom's not happy with that.
All right. Well, it's good conversation. Thanks everyone for joining us. Mitch, thank you once again. And check out our content as it continues to roll. Have a great week and go Hawks.